What if the most famous structures on Earth were not just built by brute force and simple tools, but by knowledge we no longer fully understand? For over 4,500 years, the Great Pyramids of Egypt have stood as silent proof of impossible ambition. Each block weighs several tons. The Great Pyramid alone contains more than 2 million of them. And yet, the ancient Egyptians left behind no clear construction manual, no detailed blueprints, no step-by-step explanation of how they pulled off one of the greatest engineering feats in human history. That mystery is exactly what fuels today's debate. Were the pyramids built using straightforward human ingenuity, or did ancient builders use lost technologies we have yet to rediscover? The traditional explanation tells us that tens of thousands of workers dragged massive limestone and granite blocks up long earthen ramps using ropes, sleds, and sheer determination. Recent discoveries of worker villages, bread ovens, medical tools, and even pay records support the idea that these were not slaves, but organized, skilled laborers. Wall carvings show teams hauling statues on wooden sleds while workers pour water on the sand to reduce friction. To many engineers, this makes perfect sense. With enough manpower, time, and planning, even enormous stones can be moved using simple physics. From this view, the pyramids are not a technological mystery, but a triumph of logistics, discipline, and human endurance. But critics of the ramp theory point to serious problems. To lift stones hundreds of feet into the air, the ramps themselves would have needed to be miles long and almost as massive as the pyramid itself. There is no physical evidence of such gigantic structures ever existing. If they did, where did all that material go? This gap in evidence is where alternative theories take hold. One of the most intriguing ideas is the water flotation ramp theory. According to this concept, the builders may have used canals and water-filled channels to float massive stone blocks on barges directly to higher levels of the pyramid. Water reduces friction dramatically, and even extremely heavy blocks become manageable when supported by buoyancy. Egypt already had deep experience with canals from Nile irrigation, so the knowledge certainly existed. Some researchers believe internal water shafts inside the Great Pyramid hint at this method, suggesting that water may have been lifted alongside the stones as construction progressed. Another proposal involves giant counterweights. Instead of dragging stones upward from the outside, this theory says the builders may have used enormous internal stone weights that moved downward as the building blocks rose upward, like a massive elevator system powered by gravity. This would have required precise engineering and careful balancing, but it would explain how heavy granite blocks were lifted into the king's chamber with astonishing accuracy. No clear physical counterweight system has been found, but the internal layout of the pyramid keeps the idea alive. Then there is the most controversial category, so-called sonic or lost engineering techniques. Some theorists argue that ancient builders may have understood resonance, vibration, or acoustic energy in ways we no longer do. Legends speak of priests using sound to make stones rise. From a scientific standpoint, sound waves can move small objects under specific laboratory conditions, but no evidence exists that sound alone could lift multi-ton blocks. Still, the precision of the stone cuts, the near-perfect alignment to true north, and the seamless jointing between massive stones continue to fuel speculation that something more advanced may have been at work. Others believe the mystery is not lost technology at all, but lost knowledge of ancient organization. The pyramids were national projects backed by the full power of the Egyptian state. Food supply chains, seasonal labor forces during Nile floods, standardized tools, and decades of planning all work together. What looks impossible today may simply be unfamiliar at this scale. Modern construction relies on machines. Ancient construction relied on people, and a lot of them where does the truth likely fall? Most mainstream archaeologists agree that no single exotic technology is required to explain the pyramids. But at the same time, they also admit that many construction details are still missing. The ramps, the lifting stages, the internal transport of blocks, and the exact order of assembly remain partially unresolved. In other words, we may understand the broad idea, but the precise methods, the real how, are still being pieced together, and that's what makes the pyramid debate so powerful. It sits at the crossroads of history, science, and imagination. On one side, we have evidence of human labor, tools, and organization. On the other, we have gaps that invite bold theories about forgotten knowledge and hidden techniques. The truth may be less sensational than lost super technology, but it is no less impressive. An ancient civilization, working with stone, wood, rope, and raw human coordination, may have engineered structures that still challenge modern minds. If this kind of hidden history and technological mystery fascinates you, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel, because we explore the real stories behind the world's greatest unsolved questions every week. The pyramids don't just belong to the past. They continue to test what we think humans were capable of achieving without machines. In the end, whether the pyramids were built with water, ramps, counterweights, or purely muscle and mathematics, one fact remains unshaken. They were built by human hands, guided by human minds that were far more advanced than we often give them credit for. And until the last unanswered detail is finally uncovered, the stones of Giza will keep their secrets, standing tall as a challenge to our understanding of ancient engineering and the limits of human potential.